We all have our own notebook on life. It's what we call experience or knowledge base. Today, we'll add a new page to the notebook. If you remember from part 1 of Why, there are 3 sides to the triangle of learning. The first side is awareness, that of gaining knowledge. It takes more than watching someone playing a game in order to be able to play it yourself. You must apply your knowledge and experience in order to play the game wisely. The same is true in whatever you do in life. Wisdom is applying the right knowledge in the right manner. You may have the knowledge, yet lack understanding, and make an unwise choice. In part 1, we asked the question, why? To answer the question of why, one must know for what reason or purpose. That raises the question of understanding the words reason and purpose. Reason is the justification for an action or event, and purpose is the reason for which something is done or created. This introduces a third word, created. Created is to bring something into existence. Philosophy students ask the question, why does the universe exist? Meaning, what was the justification for the action and purpose of creating the universe? People have tried to answer this question with all kinds of hypotheses and theories. Hypothesis. What does that mean? A proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. And theory is a system of ideas intended to explain something based on general principles independent of the thing to be explained. Here are the top 10 theories of the creation of the universe found on the internet, and there are even new theories being proposed. Now remember, all of these theories are supported by brilliant, highly educated people with PhD degrees in their field. They have written volumes on why their theory is correct. They will argue their theory against the others because they have worked years justifying their theory, and that is what their PhD degree is based on. The number 1 theory was written by a Belgian priest who introduced it in the 1920s when he theorized that the universe began with a single primordial atom, that is, an atom that existed at or from the beginning of time, when there was nothing, and then nothing exploded with a big bang, and everything came into existence. Now that raises 3 questions. When did time begin? Where did the single atom come from? And what caused the atom to explode nothing in the first place? Today, billions of dollars are being spent on the world's largest and most powerful particle collider, the largest, most complex experimental facility ever built, and the first single machine in the world. It lies in a tunnel 17 miles in circumference. They are searching for the first atom that they call the God particle. Stephen Hawking, the famous theoretical physicist, warned that finding the God particle could wipe out the universe. In other words, reverse the Big Bang to zero when time began and nothing existed. This coming from a man that does not believe that God exists. Man and science fails to answer the question of why the heavens and earth came into existence because they fail to acknowledge the supreme intelligence that created heaven and earth. They're doing what we read about in Romans 1, verse 25. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator. In 1 Corinthians 1, verses 20 and 21, the question is asked by Paul, where is the wise person? Where is the teacher of the law? Where is the philosopher of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? For since in the wisdom of God, the world through its wisdom did not know him, God was pleased through the foolishness of what was preached to save those who believe. I believe that most people would agree that Albert Einstein was one of the greatest scientists to ever have lived on Earth. He has been quoted by saying, "The universe reveals an intelligence of such superiority that it overshadows all human intelligence, that the idea of matter simply floating around in space until it by chance randomly formed itself into the universe we see today was not possible, that the universe had a source of origin." Einstein was convinced that the universe was designed and it had to have a designer. We read in the first book, the first verse in the Bible, Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The scientists, with all their hypotheses and theories, need to answer the question that God asked Job in the book of Job, chapter 38, verses 4 through 7. It says, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you know so much. Do you know how its dimensions were determined, and who did the surveying? What supports its foundations, and who laid its cornerstone, as the morning stars sang together, and all the angels shouted for joy?" They ignore what it says in Genesis 2:7. "Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being." Scientists need to remember what Job said in Job 1, verse 21. "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Over the past 5,000 years or more, we see that man has a life cycle. Psalm 90, verse 10, gives us insight into this period of time. It says, 70 years are given us, and some may even live to 80. But even the best of these years are often empty and filled with pain. Soon they will disappear, and we are gone. Not only does man have a limited lifetime on earth, he is limited in his ability to know all things. Why? Because man, being a created being, has lesser intelligence than the Creator, who we know as God. Man cannot answer all the why questions. He has a finite mind. Questions like, since God knows all things, why did he create Adam and Eve, since he knew they would sin? To start to understand, we must first recognize that it is part of God's process in making a perfect world, and Adam and Eve was the start of that process. God is not finished yet. That's what Revelation 21 verse 1 says. Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. Now we've not answered the question, why does the universe exist? God's purpose was to create a world in which His glory could be clear or obvious to the eye or mind in all its fullest. Psalm 19, verses 1 through 4 says, "The heavens are telling the glory of God. They are a marvelous display of His craftsmanship. Day and night they keep on telling about God. Without a sound or word, silent in the skies. Their message reaches out to all the world. If you reject the knowledge or order and design, then you will reject the superior intelligence that Einstein believed designed the universe." Now, we must stop here and ask the question, how is the computer in your head programmed? In terms of software, that is. Are you a 1 or a 0? That is, do you believe, yes, there is a God, or no, there is no God? The way you answer that question will determine your answer to the question of why. In part 3 of Why, we'll look at why God made Adam and Eve with the ability to sin. We wish to acknowledge those who assisted with the graphics in this presentation.